Council of Legal Debt. Today, as you see, we're going to continue looking at Andra Street. Sorry, Emily Dickinson. No, I'm not going back. Slip over that. Okay, Emily Dickinson. And last time we looked at her life, how she was excellent. She was an individual who wanted to have her own reality, and how she was very enigmatic. Even her poetry was reflecting that kind of enigma. Today we're going to continue looking at more poems. I have 3 poems. And of course we're not going to go in details. There will take only 3 poems. We're just going to look at them, try to, at least to paraphrase, to know what is going on. And then, if we try to figure out certain symbols, it would be nice. But I will be leaving for you like some links where you can find good interpretation for these 3 poems. Okay, another fellow, you must have read this.
Yes.
And Emily Dickinson did not give a title for this poem, by the way. But her editor, gave it a title. What was the title which was given by the editor?
First line.
The first line. Okay, good.
Like all of the poems.
All the poems.
Yes. They chose
She didn't
different.
get any title. She didn't get any title.
But you know what is the narrow film? What is it?
Yes, the snake. The snake.
How do you know it's a snake?
What?
How do you know it's a snake?
Like first when you read it, okay, but then.
Is there anything in the poem which indicates it's a snake?
So you mean the title is the snake?
I don't know, like, because you
Because
said
the
like-
title, I read another title. It's called the snake, I guess.
Uh-huh. So somebody gave
Yes.
it
the
a title mistake. It was like, her editor gave it a mistake, and she was not happy because she wanted to keep
Yeah.
the poem
To figure it out.
polemic, mysterious, ambiguous.
Yes.
And like, do you think it's an ambiguous poem?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Let us read it. A narrow fellow in the grass occasionally writes. You may have met him, did you? Not. His note is sunless. The grass divides as with a coup. A spotted shaft is seen, and then it closes at your feet and opens further on. He likes a boggy acre, a floor too cool for corn, and when a child and barefoot, I more than once at morn. At past I thought a whiplash, a braiding in the sun. When stooping to secure it, it wrinkled and was gone. Several of nature's people I know, and they know me. I feel for them a transport of cordiality. But I never met this one, attended or alone, without a tighter breathing and a zero. Okay, so what do you think? What she's talking about?
So,
Yes?
Oh, the snake.
How do you know it's a
No, I mean that Emily Dickinson did not mention the word snake ever.
Yeah, she never
But she,
mentioned it.
in her description, narrow fellow, from the description that he's fellow and narrow, you can't see any grass, he's crawling or
But do
something.
you think like, a snake can be a fellow for us?
For her,
Okay, for her, in
Yes.
what sense can it be?
because she respects the every natural world, even the
Ah.
animals themselves.
Okay, so she thinks like, she's close to
Yes, the
these
nature.
natural creatures. And do you have any indication in the poem like to say
Yes,
this?
I mean that when she said like people, something.
Uh-huh. When she says
Several of nature's people.
I know.
several of nature's people, I know and they know me.
Yes.
I feel for them a transport of cordiality. So like, nature's people, what does she mean by nature people?
Animals themselves.
Maybe.
Okay.
But also,
So all the natural creatures
yes.
are people for her.
Yes.
But this fellow, so there is like kind of intimacy between,
Yes. Cordiality.
cordiality, like intimacy.
Yes.
I'm not sure like this intimacy is going to be sustained in the poem or not. See what I mean?
Yes.
Because let's see whether this another fellow in the class occasionally writes. So it is
Like a person writing something.
quite often there is like a kind of familiarity.
Yes.
Now again, is this sense of familiarity going to be like sustained in the poem? You may have met him, did you not? Like she's involving the reader.
Yes.
There's no this suddenness. There's no this suddenness instead of his, you know,
Because the sun.
his notice is sudden. His notice suddenness. I mean, there is a virgin like to attract attention to,
Yes.
you know, this kind of creature.
And designate the words.
The grass divines as a cool.
Similar.
It's a nice simile.
Yes.
Right? The grass divides, you know,
As
As
a-
a- and a spotted shaft. It is a shaft. It's a long tail,
Yes.
you know, but it's spotted. So I think here we started to think of it
But it's
like a snake.
from the description.
A spotted shaft is seen. Look here. Why she's not saying, I saw a spotted shaft?
Because she
Like,
maybe.
don't you think she's trying to detach
Attach
herself
more
a bit?
herself, yeah.
Yeah? Like a spotted shaft is seen.
Yeah.
Like it's not me. you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Okay, a
Because
spotted.
anyone can be in his position.
And I think, you know, this might trigger like her ambivalent attitude toward this creature. Okay, a spotted shaft is seen, and then it closes at your feet and opens further on.
Yes.
Opens further on. So when it comes, it opens further on. It, you know,
Expands.
expands more. Again, this is an indication that this is, you know, this is an elastic, you know, snake.
Yes. Also, there's
Okay.
at your feet, the reader himself,
Yeah, so the
not
reader.
my feet.
Yeah, again, yeah, she's distancing herself.
Yes. And on top of the reader.
But don't forget this is a fellow.
Yes.
So we have this contradictory attitude toward
Yeah.
this.
Close
You know,
relationship
it's
and redemption.
I know it's very critical, and I think we might need to think twice or even many times about like what does this stand for.
Yes.
The grass divides as with a comb. A spotted shaft is seen, and then it closes at your feet and opens up further on. He likes a boogie acre. Like, look here, the snake is moving from one place to another.
Yes.
Okay? The snake seems to be displaced. See what I mean?
From our side.
From one place to another. From the grass to the, you know, the cool swamp or the cool boggy acre. A floor too cold for a corn.
Yes.
You know? Like a floor too cool for corn. Like this is something cool.
Yes.
It's not good for corn product because we know that corn grow in summer. But this is, you know, too cool. It contradicts also with, because we usually know that snakes are active, are vital in summertime when it is very hot. He likes a boogie acre, a floor too cool for corn. Yet when a child and a barefoot, I more than once at morn. Like in fact, when a child, in another edition, when a boy. You see what I mean? When a boy. Again, this is a third attempt to distance herself from.
The whole itself.
Yes.
She's capitalizing by the boogie acre. Yeah, very
Yeah, but here in this, you know, like a virgin, it's not like capitalized, you know. So let's see what she's capitalized. She's capitalizing the narrow fellow. She's capitalizing, yeah,
pronounced.
the pronouns. Yeah, his, like, he likes bogey acre, a floor too cold for corn. Yet when a child and a barefoot, I more than once at morn have passed, I thought, a whiplash. Like I thought, I'm not sure. It was like a whiplash.
She's including herself. She's
Huh?
using the I now.
Yeah, she's, you know, trying to include. Upbraiding in the sun, huh? You know? The attitude is a little bit different. Upbraiding in the sun. When stooping to secure, again stooping, what's meant to stoop?
to bow in order like to catch, like to crouch yourself like this in order to, again, here it shows how, she started to embrace the idea of the snake. At the beginning, she's distancing, she's like a boy, okay? But now when stooping to secure it, it trickled and was gone. Like
this is.
yeah, she's not, she feels regret. Oh, was gone, I don't know, like.
Usually the man is gone, not the snake.
Yeah. So again, like, so you tried like to give, a symbolic interpretation. Why do you say it's a man? So what she's talking about?
No, I mean in general. When I see a snake,
Do you think she's
I
talking
understand
about like
when I see a
a man who proposed to her, like,
snake. No.
and he came like she liked him, and then suddenly, he disappeared? It happens,
She means when
It could be.
in a situation like this, the human himself ran away, not the snake.
But he is a boy, not a man.
No, but who's running away?
Are curious about it.
When stooping to secure it, who's the person who's stooping to stoop? The boy.
Yes.
Like, because, you want like to catch it. You stoop. You pretend that you are, docile, naive, and you want just like to catch it. But here, when you stoop, it was gone. Look how frustrated sometimes. I remember when I was a child, I was stooping to hunt birds, and then I was frustrated when it, like at the last moment it would fly away. But never met this fellow, several, it trickled and was gone. Several of nature's people I know, and they know me. I feel for them a transport of cordiality. Like there is this reciprocal relationship. I'm cordial and they are cordial. Like, look how she perceives natural, creatures. Like they are like guest and host. This is very romantic, isn't it? Okay. But never met this fellow. This fellow is an exception. Attended or alone. In like attendance of people, like in company or alone, without a tighter breathing and a zero at bone. So it should be read, without a tighter breathing and a zero at bone. Like this is fear. See? She's totally scared. She's scared to death. I don't know. Again, this is very elusive. The snake is very elusive. The whole meaning is very elusive, isn't it? So let us guess for a few minutes, what might this be about? Yes, Isra?
I wonder why the Americans only use like horrible creatures in their poems, like the spider and the snake. Have like
Yeah, I think, yes. But like this is very important because snake has always been associated with evil, with temptation. But here, you see, she contradicts the biblical connotation and she gives, a new like symbolic meaning to the snake by showing it's positive, like it has positive. So she imbues this symbol with more meaning. She adds more meaning to this. And this is like what we say, Emerson's idiosyncratic way of using symbols. Like she has her own personal style of using symbols. Okay. Yes, Taj? We're coming back to you.
Is she the snake?
In what sense?
Like
Yeah, this is like very genuine interpretation. Like, is she the snake? Yeah. What is the snake here? The snake is.
I know someone. She's alone. She's never felt alone or
Uh-huh. So the snake is alone, lonely.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And no one is approaching or coming next to her because she doesn't allow this to happen. Exactly like the snake. When someone approaches, it goes away. It runs.
So like she's the snake and the outside world like to her is like
Yes.
okay.
Or the other people.
The other people? Who are the other people? Like
Surroundings, everyone.
the surrounding, like
Nature even.
nature, like Yeah, she liked nature, but
Not in a way that she's very.
she's not
attached to it.
a romantic in the transcendentalist, in the Emersonian. Like, she was fascinated by romanticism, like this is what we want to say, yet she was reluctant to join them, or she did not join them because she had her own choice. She had her own word. Okay. Okay. Yes, Isra, and then we come back.
I think by using the snake as a symbol, she is criticizing the natural world, and not literally the natural world, but it might be the critics, or when she says boy,
Uh-huh.
she underestimates them.
So this is very. I'm very happy. Like, you are giving like more than one, interpretation to this, and this is the richness of the poem. Like, you think the snakes are the critics.
And even
Are the critics, or because we thought that she had that ambivalent relationship with her editor, Mr. Higginson, like, who was like editing, but he was he kept like censoring her. So like, he was like a snake. She respected him, but at the same time, because he was a male, she had some doubts and some fear.
the snake has to do with betrayal sometimes.
Uh-huh.
So this is like a connotation to
Excellent, excellent. Good. Yes.
I think she explained the idea about what appearance is not what the real is. That the contrast between appearance and the hidden meaning, and how the snake is beautiful from the out.
So you mean like the snake, the whole poem stands for appearance and reality. So sometimes appearance, is misleading, but the reality is like something different. Okay. Good. What other possible interpretations might you give to this? I don't know why you laughed when we said this might be like a man who was proposed to her, because she was a lady and perhaps she thought of getting married, but like the idea of the husband was a little bit, she was, as every lady, she has this tendency, she's fascinated, but at the same time there is like fear, because we knew like how she was rebellious against her society. She was not happy with, the traditional role women were assuming in her society. Okay.
Another interpretation, we know that the snake is a change when it is in grass or in nature, the color
Uh-huh.
of the snake. So this might be like a symbol to the difference between seeming and being. How the whole society is looking to her as despised and isolated character, while the being or the inside of her personality is totally different.
Uh-huh.
So she might express this idea.
That
Between how people look to her and
how she looked at herself. In fact, I like what Taj also said. This is like she might, or the snake might stand for her. She identifies herself with the snake. The snake is little bit uncertain where to anchor itself, and that was Emily Dickinson. She was trying, like, she refused religion, she refused like transcendentalists. So all the time she was transforming herself. She was trying to seek, a safe place, and finally she found that her home was best. She refused, the Calvinist, the Puritan dogma, and she refused even to join the Transcendentalist, but she preferred to join her own word. So it could be like a woman who was, herself insecure. She wanted like to have her own haven, which is the self, which is, the house we spoke. She created her own word. I don't want like to go to the aesthetics of the poem, because the symbolism is part of the aesthetics. The poem is full of alliteration, full of music, full of, images, personification, And I think, the personification, because, and even the graphology, the capitalization, because here, the snake at some point is seen as a majestic creature, and sometimes it is seen as a horrible creature. And, some of the alliteration has to do with, the sense of like a snake coming, insinuating itself. Another fellow in the grass occasionally writes.
Like a riddle.
Huh?
We have like a riddle.
Yeah.
Some description, and you not want to know what is it.
Yeah, it's like you may have met him. There is uncertainty. You may have met him, but there is like some doubt about it. Didn't you? His notice suddenness. His notice, look here, the alliteration. His notice suddenness. It's like a sense of abruptness. His notice suddenness. Okay? The grass divides as with a coo. Coo? A spotted shaft. A spotted shaft is seen. Within, like this is within like the hissing of the snake, a spotted shaft. And then it closes at your feet and opens further on, like, closes and opens. It has to do with the shifting attitude. It closes and opens. It closes and opens. And I think if we want to take this, like the snake is her, this will, give, some meaning. He likes Bogey Acre, a floor too cool for corn. Like, look at, corn and cool. This is antithetical. And when a child and barefoot, I more than once at morn have passed, I thought, a whiplash. A whiplash, I think, whiplash here. What is a lash? Whipping, like this brings the slavery issue, which was very disturbing to Emily Dickinson, because Emily Dickinson, was not happy with the whole idea of slavery. So this, to some extent resonates. Upbraiding in the sun. Look at the image. Upbraiding. What does it mean, upbraiding? Yeah, upbraiding. It's like the ing, upbraiding in the sun. It keeps like glittering. So it's majestic. And I think here we understand why it is capitalized. This reminds me of D.H. Lawrence, a poem called The Snake. You can read it. When a snake came to his turf to drink, like the persona took, an axe and, cut the snake in two parts, and then he felt guilty because he thought that the snake was a king, a deposed king. He kept speculating about the king. So read this and try to compare this, contrast this to this one. Okay, I think, we can leave for you like a link where you can find something about the aesthetics, because I want to move to the second poem. Okay? Which one? Okay, so good. You can come and present. The poem is here if you don't need other than the poem.
Hello everyone. Today, inshallah, I'm going to talk about this poem. Because I Could Not Stop for Death, written by Emily Dickinson, presented by Rain Auda. First of all, the outline. Who is Emily Dickinson? What's up with the title? Reciting the poem, I may skip this part and just, while analyzing the poem, one stanza by stanza. Analysis of the poem, poetic diction, tone and theme, American features. Quickly. Just quickly, because Dr. Akram has already discussed the Emily Dickinson's life, I just may go quickly. First of all, she was born in Amherst, Massachusetts on 10th of December 1830 in a Puritan family. This part is important because you may see later the influence of such bringing up in such a family in her thoughts and her ideas. Her father was a famous lawyer and politician. She has lived a leisure time and she enjoys being by herself. Being by herself, not people left her. She seeks solitude and isolation. She wrote about 1,775 poems. Only 7 of them were published during her lifetime. Before her death, she asked her sister to burn all her poems, but her sister instead published all these poems. Like many authors, she wasn't known until after her death in 1886. She was one of the best poets that America has ever created, and even the world has created itself. She did not receive much formal education, as we said before, that she was studying in the college, but her father bring someone to pick her out. But this didn't prevent her from continuing reading. So we have such sense of self-education or something. Emily Dickinson was a witty woman, sensitive, full of humanity, and by this she wrote many genius poetry. While she was living in her isolated life or something, she wrote whatever comes to her mind, whatever she feels, she sees, imagine. She wrote whenever and wherever about whatever. Analysis of her character, we have a strong influence of Puritans on her thought. As we said, she was born in a Puritan family. Puritans, we have this pessimistic idea and tragic tone, sorry for this, but we can see that Emily Dickinson only talked about pessimistic topics, but in different way. For example, about death in open-minded attitude or something. We have her care and interest about death and immortality, and we have exploring a human's inner psychology.
So she has her own version of
Yes.
Death and immortality.
Yes, attitude.
Which is different from like
Puritan
the
himself.
version of death and immortality, because we understood that she rejected, traditional or established
Religion.
church and
Beliefs.
she started to develop her own
Word.
religion.
Yes. And we have here the last thing that we have, that there is a great influence of the Imagist movement in the 20th century. As we talk in the 20th century, we had the short lines, not restricting to the rhythm and the meter or something. So she has her own style in writing. Features of her poems, I'm not going to read them all, but if you want to take it and read it by yourself, generally she has short lines, capitalization and dashes, and her own style of writing, topics such as beauty, life, death, immortality, mortality, and she seeks to study the idea of life, to understand the idea of death itself. And poetry for her is a measure of entertainment. As we said in The Spider, that she didn't want to have such a purpose or a lesson or something, but to entertain herself and amusing herself. And no organized religion. She has her own view of religion and everything. I just want to go about the poem itself. In this poem, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, Dickinson is known as the Lady of the Dark Side, because most of her poems about death, like dark aspects, death, mortality, immortality. But what is strange, not in her interest in such topics, but her attitude towards such topics, because she dealt with death, mortality, immortality in open-minded, cool, and calm and comfort. What's up with the title? As we said before, that Emily Dickinson did not have any title for any poem, because she didn't have intention to publish these poems. But we have the first line of each poem as a title, and actually this poem, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, is usually has the number 479 or 7012 order of the poems in her writing. You read the poem? Generally, about the poem in general, this poem discusses the theme of death, which is a dark theme, but and a gloomy one. But her attitude of dealing with this theme is different, is a light tone. As we said here, in general, about this poem, that Emily Dickinson did not see this poem or this death as a catastrophe, but rather as a beginning, a new start for anything, a life after. As we said here, that she treats death as a gentleman, a suitor coming in a horse-drawn carriage and coming to pick her. It's like a date or something, their engagement. And she has given up all her work and her words about such ideas of daily life just to enjoy the ride with the death. The beauty and the importance of this poem lies in the poet herself, open-minded and attitude towards death. Stanza by stanza, inshallah. First stanza 1. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. the carriage held but just ourselves and immortality.
So 3 passengers,
Yes.
no tickets.
First of all, we said that Emily Dickinson is influenced by the 20th century Imagist movement. This movement has this kind of tendency to go directly to the topic without abstraction or such introduction. Here we said from the first line we know that the poem is about death. No unnecessary introduction. Because I could not stop for death, we know that it is about death. And starting with because, it's like she is giving justification or explanation. If I ask you, why did you do that? Because 1, 2, 3. So this makes the poem active and alive, and you attracted to read the whole poem. I could not stop for death. By saying this, she is stating the fact that we all know that it is not our choice when we are going to die. It is not our dates or something. We don't have a schedule or something. It is just to come whenever it is distant. By making death capital, it is like personifying death. It is not a catastrophe, as we said before. It is like a gentleman suitor. And then we have the dash here, which also is a characteristic of her own style of writing. And also you can think of it like an arrow. Go to the next line to continue. He kindly stopped for me. Also, it is an affirmative for the idea that the death is like a suitor gentleman. He kindly stopped for me. And we said that this line, he kindly stood for me, established the tone that the poet herself is accepting the idea of death totally. Then we move to talk the carriage held by just ourselves and immortality. Here, the carriage held the poet herself and death, ourselves. There is no problem at that. But here, the dash here, it's like, wait a minute, there are someone else, which is immortality. And we have here, when we said that death is capitalized, it is like a person. But here, it is not a person. We have carriage, ourselves, and immortality capitalized, but for different purpose, for emphasis and for importance. Carriage is like, to make it is not like an ordinary carriage or something. It is her death chariot that is going to carry her for, yes, from her the place to the burial spot or something.
It's like, a wedding ceremony, like, she's the bride.
Yes.
And this is the bridegroom, and immortality.
Yes.
Like the audience who are going to witness this.
It will be clear when she says that Gossamer and Gone or something.
Yeah, I mean, the images show that this is like
A wedding, yes.
a wedding procession.
Ourselves, it means her and death, but also sees the intimate relationship between her and death. They are not. She is not forced to go. She is going by her intention. Yes. And immortality. Immortality here is like complicated, interesting word in this sense, because death means mortality, not immortality. How it is me and death and immortality. So it is. This states puts herself perspective that death is not the end, not catastrophe, but instead it is a new start. Yes. Standard 2, we slowly drove. He know no haste. It means they are taking their time in the journey. They are enjoying the trip. He know no haste, that death doesn't hurry or speed. It takes her time. And I had put away my labor, my work, and my leisure free time too, for his civility, that she has given all her duties, her work, and the free time just for his kindness, for his politeness, his attractive manners or something. She is going to enjoy the trip. No one to involve and to spoil the interest of their journey. And then we said we and he. In this sense, you may think that she may have some kind of control over the atmosphere. But then she directly mentioned that he is the one who controls the whole trip, not only me. And I don't have any position in this trip. Yes. Standard number 3. We passed, yes, where children drove at races in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun.
It's a journey backward, huh?
Yes.
Backward.
It is a journey which should go through the stages of life, from the childhood, adulthood, and from the aged one or something.
This happens when somebody is dying or like is about to die. it happens like this. I know it never happened before, but personally it happened. You know, because I was about to die in an accident, and the whole, span of my life, past life, was like a quick reel, like seeing myself as a child growing up, and it was like a reel, a quick reel in seconds. You see?
Yes.
So this is what it's an experience of death. Somebody who's going to die.
In this stanza, Dickinson is mentioning what they are passing by. First of all, she said that we passed the school where children strove in races, and at the breaks. In break time, yes. In the ring, they are catching their hands, they're playing or something. We passed the fields of this stanza. Yes, I think here. But for example, in the drip, we have Emily Dickinson at death. Death is itself like a person is not something accepted or something. This is strange to some extent. Having death as something strange with such familiar scene like children in a school, it's mixing real and unreal for one purpose, like to mention that death is not something strange. It is part of our ordinary life. It is as of part of the circle of life itself. We are living, but we have to die one day. This school represents the childhood. We pass the phase of gazing grain, making the grain like gazing. It's like the tip of the grain is like a head or a persons of people are gazing at the carriage itself. So also we have such a kind of personification to some extent. And we pass the setting sun. The setting sun, it may be the end of the day, but also at the end of the life itself. Yes. And we have in this sense that we passed, I think, 3 times repeated, like an aphora, repetition. Or rather, he passed us. Here we have, he refers to the sun. The sun is personified here. The sun passed us. It's like, Emily Dickinson is trying to say that death is like when light and warmth and all these positive things are leaving you in cold and darkness. That is death. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only Gossamer my gown, my Tibet only toll. Do you know what is the meaning of Gossamer? It's like a material from which the gown itself is the dress, headdress. Okay, the Gossamer is like a silky material. Okay, and then Tibet is like shawl, or something you put around your neck or something. My toll is like gossamer. It is like silky and thin material. The sun has gone down. We have the dew of the night. Some call the atmosphere or something. So she is trying to say, as the sun has gone down and we have such cold atmosphere, my clothes are thin and not that warm. This means that she has gone to this journey not prepared. Not being prepared also confirms the fact that death doesn't come at a specific time. Yes, he surprises her by this trip and she goes with him without being prepared. That also confirms the fact that we don't have a choice when we are going to die. Yes. And also you see in the movies or something when someone is getting cold, you can see that it's a sign of death or sickness or something. He's passing away. Stanza number 5. We burst before a house that seems a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, scarcely. The cornice in the ground. Here we have bows. Another stop. The first stop when the death itself with its carriage stopped for taking Emily Dickinson. Here we have the second stop, which may end the whole journey. Before the house that seemed. This use of the word house is tricky and clever actually, because if she did say tombstone or grave, maybe the reader will have such a sense of finality, death, and a frightening atmosphere. But she make it like a home or something. She accepting the idea of death and she is comfortable with that. She is not afraid of death. A swelling of the ground, by saying this, not to make the reader just go and think it is home, it is a grave. A swelling of when you dug the ground, and also put the sand again, it will have such a rise in the ground. So it is a grave. The roof was scarcely visible. There is no apparent high roof for the house. If the highest part of the house is in the ground, the risk of surely will be deep in the ground. So it is no doubt. This is about her grave, about her burial spot. The last stanza. Since then, this is the shocking part of the stanza, of the poem actually. Since then, it is centuries and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horse's heads were toward eternity. Here we know that this whole action has happened a long time ago, that the poet has been dead the whole time. Since then, it is centuries. And yet, as if we are saying it is just yesterday. The memory is still vivid and active. It feels that this happened yesterday, even though it has happened a long time ago. I first surmised, and she is recalling the first time she saw the carriage of death, when she see the horses' heads.
What does mean surmise?
Thought or guess.
Okay, so now we are leaving the senses to guessing.
Yes.
And this is very symbolic, you know. When you guess, it's like, it's the word of conjecturing. It's the word of imagination. So what happens in this poem, it's like exactly, I had a funeral in my brain. Like we're talking about sensual death, but like another rebirth of, you know,
A new beginning.
like the unconscious. The unconscious, which is according to Lacan, is the place of creativity. Now, don't you think she's celebrating her creativity as a poet in this poem?
Maybe.
This is a possibility.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Last thing. Yes, last thing. Horse's head is like an arrow, because the horse head is like an angle toward this, and we have the long hair. It's like an arrow pointing to eternity, like this, eternity, the immortality in the life after.
Okay, I think we should like stop here.
Yes.
Otherwise, death would stop for us. You know? And honestly, thank you, Raneen. I'm not worried if death would stop for us, me as a teacher, because I have new students who will carry on and give the job of the teacher. So Raneen is, a wonderful teacher, a wonderful student, and she did a good job. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I know, we're not done with Emily Dickinson, but I'm afraid we have, to read next time Frederick Douglass, The Narrative of Captivity, and we can find some time to work on. You see, because I don't want, to lag behind. So let's now go to the conference hall, and I'll be talking to you. What shall we do?